Good morning. Let me get to the chat screen. Good morning, everyone. My name is Samantha Mirabal. Did I turn on the mic? Yes, I did. All right. My name is Samantha Mirabal. I'm with Melco's application team. We're doing our design shop talk today. See what questions you might have. Try to get them answered for you. I know we've got a lot of folks wanting to see what most of my questions for today are. Tell me about 12. So I do have 12 up. I'll kind of give you I've been using it for a while now. And it's a ton of fun. I love some of the new stuff that's in it. So it's kind of fun that it's finally released for everyone to be able to use. So we'll go over that and whatever other questions. If you have questions while we're live, type them in on the chat. Do not send them privately to me. I will not see them. Just type them in on the screen. I've got another monitor set up over here. And when I'm not looking ahead, that's what I'm staring at, looking over at what the chat's on. All right, so I will start with the questions sent in ahead of time and we will go from there. Good morning from Texas. Thanks for joining us, Karitza. Nice to see you again. All right, what's new in the update? We'll go over that, and you can see a lot of questions about this. So I'll go to 12 specific. I've got another slide for that in just a moment. But so new in the update, we'll go over some of the things that I like a lot. Morning, Scott. So let's see, what level is auto digitizing in? That starts in the vector option. So when you go vector option up, that's when you'll start seeing that. All right, let's go to this one, and then we'll kind of build into talking about 12. And then so I'm going to go close 12, and I'm going to open up 11 for the moment, and then we'll pop over to 12 in just a sec. So one of the questions we have was, how do you do primer stitch in editor? So I actually have my 11 preset up to just be the editor version. Okay, so the primer tool, so insert primer stitch isn't there. Okay, right there, generate primer stitch. It's not an option in this level of the software. So what can we do about that? Well, you can go create your own by doing a complex shape, right? So if I do this, no one wants a box. You want it sculpted around the text, right? Well, you might want a box, but let's say you don't. So what do we do about that? So a few things. I can come in and first make it look like a primer stitch by changing the densities to something big, turning off auto, none, making the border margin 0, density 50, angle 90. All right, so what did I just do? The border margin 0 makes all the stitches come to the edge of the shape. The density is whatever this density is. So if you want squares, this density and that density need to match. And that's all you got to do about that. All right, so that created something that's kind of blinding on the screen. There we go. So that created this. But now let's say you want it sculpted around your text. How can we handle that? Well, we got to modify it, right? So I'm going to scooch it down closer. So something closer, and I'm eyeballing it clearly. All right, so let's curve this corner here. So how do we do that? I'm going to do left click, click on this point, hold my control key, and shift it in. So that allows me to curve these points around. All right, so I can curve points, so that's a start, but now we want to sculpt it even further down into this area here. Okay, so what do we do there? Well, I'm going to add a point, and I'm going to add multiple points so I can drag this whole line down. Okay, again, I can hold my control key and curve that. I can add some points, control and curve, however you want it. So the control key, all that's doing is holding it to be curved. Now, if you did this and you didn't mean to, like me, you can hold control and right click, and that'll put it back to being a straight line. So clearly, if you have the primer feature, it's a productivity saver, right? So you can do this all super fast rather than, doing what I'm doing, which is eyeballing it around the shape. But, I always encourage everyone, work with the tools you have, because, you can do a lot even in the editor version. Okay, so this is just editor. So that was one of the questions we had. And that was also, how do you do a primer stitch in the standard version? So I assume that means editor. So that's a few of the questions answered. So hopefully that helps some. But it's pretty much, you can do it that way or another way. would be to just, instead of doing the rectangle like I started with, I could just eyeball it from the start, right? So I can just left click and right click around my shape. I'm going to hold the alternate key to keep it straight, and I am just eyeballing this. And not too well, if I say so myself, but that's all right. There we go. Here, maybe up. Let's just go straight. And enter to close it. So I could do it that way. That's another. And the other trick that, if you're not aware of, you can double click on this, and right here, because I already did all that to change it to the squares, so I can copy those properties to my clipboard. And if I click on that, I can say paste properties, and it goes, it pastes them all over. So we had a question of how do you copy patterns and stuff over. So if you have something here, a fill that you really like, just like this, I had a fill I liked, I could select it, copy it to my clipboard, click on this one, paste it, and now all those properties and all the setup you did apply straight over to it. Okay, so those are two ways that you can do a primer stitch using the editor version. Now, like I said, it's clearly easier if you have the higher levels, but you know, work with what we have. All right, I'm going to close that back out and go back to version 12. All right, so here's 12. So one of the questions was, how do we merge? And this works in both, but here's one of the features that I particularly enjoy with 12 is we've got these tabs that run across. So it just makes going back and forth between things super easy, and to keep track, I like it. Anyway, so one of the questions we had was, how do we merge these things? Well, I can use my control key, hold all these down. So I selected those four, left click and drag, and now they're one shape. I have auto merge on right there. So just moving those blue all together, it auto merged the second color. So now that is a 2-color design. Okay, so I'm going to undo it, do that again. If you don't have auto merge on, you're going to have to merge the colors, but if you turn that button on, and this is in 11 and 12, you can select those all, left click, drag them to the top, and now they all merged into one color, and all my borders merged into a color. Okay, so that's condensing. All right, this is really fun. So this is new to 12. So let me go show you my little list of things I like. So the limited tabs, and there's a lot of enhanced, that's supposed to say lettering, not editing. So a lot of lettering stuff. So let's go look at all those, or some of them anyway. So first and foremost, we now have the ability to take fonts that we purchase. So let me go grab a folder I have. Okay, so I bought this font a gazillion years ago. But let's say we want, and this, when you buy digitized fonts, this is what you get. You get a whole bunch of files that are one letter at a time. And typically you have to open them one at a time and, you know, copy, paste, merge them together, align them. They're not typable. But we can now make them all typable, which is super fun. So let's do that. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to start with a small font. Let's do letters instead of numbers. So I'm going to do just a handful. So I selected from the first one down to my lowercase g, and I'm going to left click and just drag them over, and they're going to open them all. All right, so it opens them all on a bunch of tabs. When doing this, I like to do them this way. Yeah, okay. I opened a bad file, but that's all right. Okay, so we got a bunch of files up. So here's what we do. First off, what do I want to name it? This is the Scarlet font. It's called Scarlet. So, and it's the small version. So what does that mean? It's a 1-inch font. All right. So let's do it. I select the letter, right click, go to save letter. I'm going to create a new alphabet because I have already done the medium one. That's why I'm doing the small one now. So Scarlet. Is it 2 T's? Who knows? I'm going to have 1 T. Scarlet, small, DST, because it's a DST file originally. I'm only doing this for my sanity. It's the small, and it originally is 1 inch. Okay. So the only reason I'm putting that in there is these are expanded files. So if I have multiples and I save them into multiple size things, if I want to sew something at a 3-inch height, I should pick the 3-inch font. So I'm not scaling really tiny things really big, because when you're working with expanded, the more you scale it, plus or minus 10 to 20%, you start getting distortions to it. So I'm putting the size on it. So I create it. The height of those is baselined at 1 inch. So what letter was this? This was the capital A. So I come down here, say capital A, okay. Now I'm just going to keep going. Right click, save letter, lowercase a. Okay. B, capital B, save letter, capital B, okay. Lowercase b, save letter. All right. I'm going to do what I opened, and then we'll type it so you can see it. So this is a capital C. Mainly I'm doing this, all these, so you can see how they work. And it's pretty straightforward, really quick to do. Save letter D, capital, lowercase d, capital E. Almost there. What question? So, lowercase e, capital F, lowercase, capital G and lowercase g. Save letter, capital G, and lowercase g. And I'm going to stop here. So if I were going to continue this, what would I do? Personally, I would come up here and say window, close all. I would go back over here to my folder and copy the next set over. Okay, that's how I would do it. All right, so now I can come over here, type in Scarlet, and I've got the 1 inch that I just created. And it has a warning that pops up that says, hey, these are expanded alphabets. Yes, they are. So use the scale tab to change the density in pull comp. All right, so it's just a reminder. So I can come over here, A, B, B, C, C, G, G. All right. Okay, so notice it's all typable, so that's fun. But my G is higher. We want the G to be lower. So there's also these, we can add now as many grid lines as you want. The only reason I added that one there was so I can come over here, select on the G, hold my control key, pull it down until it lines up where I want it, where the descenders go. So that's how I actually want it to type. So now all I have to do is right click on it, save letter, and now that letter, every time we type it, will pop up in the right spot rather than above, so the descender's in the right location. So you can really quickly take any of the purchased fonts that you have and turn them in to typable fonts. You can also go into the scale tab here and adjust the density, the pull compensation, those sorts of things. And so it makes it really easy to use all those fonts that come in as 190 separate files. Okay, so that's yeah, working with the expanded ones. Any questions so far? No? All right, let's look more at text because there's a lot of new text things. So let's change this to Playful Puppies because I think it's adorable. Okay, so there's lots of new fonts. That's just one of them. So let's see, where are they? So there's a bunch of new cool fonts. I just really love Playful Puppies. I don't know why. Probably because it says puppies. But all right, so let's go see. So we've got that. We also have the ability to do some neat things with lettering. So down here, you've got straight, you've got all these different types, right? So we have envelope, but there are also presets on these envelopes. So if you want to bridge, if you want to arc the text up, let me get a blocky font so this actually shows up. Block. And I can drag it more. Control. There. So we can do shapes, right? So there's all these preset shapes that you can work with. Bridge at the bottom, you know, so banner left. You can do all kinds of neat things pretty quickly with the envelope tool. There's also a text box. So the text box is particularly helpful for, let's say you're doing name badges. Good morning, Mike. So let's say you're doing a name badge and you want every name to be an exact width wide, an exact, so or patches, let's say, and they're going to be 3.5 wide. Okay, so no matter what you do, you can't have the text be larger than that. All right, so let's say you want that. Now, if I come in here and change a different name, I don't know, Emily, it will fit it to the shape, right? So it will go through there. If I do multiple names, again, it'll shrink it down to fit the space. So whatever envelope you provide it, that will fit the text to it. So that's a neat way to make sure you're staying within a given envelope, particularly if you're sewing on name badges or plates or patches or things like that. It will automatically adjust everything to stay within the box. You also have the ability to do spacing by percent or absolute. So over here under spacing, you can say line spacing by percent, or you can say, well, I don't want percent. I want it to be exactly 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so you can type in a distance as well. So you have that ability. There's a really neat feature now to take, let's do copper plate. Take any font and turn it into an applique. So I'm going to make this big. Good morning, Sherry. So that's probably too big for the amount of letters because I should have changed it to applique first, but that's okay. So over here, you can say turn it into an applique, and it will become an applique file for you. So it will turn all of that font into an applique. You can also, let's say for that particular applique, you want the satin borders wider, or you want to change this more on the fabric, less off the fabric. Well, you can go modify that by going into the applique properties, and now all of those are here. So you can go, well, I want, instead of 80-20 splits, I want a 60-40 split, or you pick what it is. All right. So you can go through and change that all, and it will adjust it for you. Okay. So now it changes that. You can also change the width on your satin stitches and all of that fun stuff. So you have full control over the applique process and the settings it has there. So you can take any of the fonts and turn them in there, and they work out nicely. These grid lines, of course, you can add them. They're helpful when you're digitizing, making sure things are lined up. You can delete the grid lines, move them around. You can snap to them, put them different places, all that fun stuff. Trying to think what else on lettering. There's a bunch. I put a little list of things. So the shapes, text box, I showed you envelope, applique. Oh, the gradient fonts. Those are kind of cool. I like them. All right, so we have some built-in gradient fonts down here under the custom shape. If you come down to custom designs, they now have these sans serif or slab. So you can find, these are already done as gradients, and you can use them as is to go spell out what you want and choose your different colors, and they sew beautifully and make a nice gradient fill across there. So you can kind of see it's going from one color to another. So those are a lot of fun if you want to try them and play with them and see how the gradients work. So there's those. Now there's also, did I delete everything? No. Well, I'm not going to use that. Let's see what else we have. All right. Let's go back to playful. Copper plate's fine. Okay, so we also now have borders. So borders are fun. You can tell it to be strict or relaxed. You can tell it to do multiple borders, fewer borders. So let me do this just because it's easy to show. All right, I've got a shape, and I'm going to go click on the border tool. And let's say I want 2 borders, and I want them to be 30 offset, the additional offset 20, sure. And yeah, let's do that. Okay, so it'll do multiple borders around the shape. Okay, you can also change how far they're supplied apart, different shapes, whatever you want. It'll create the borders quickly and efficiently for you. So now you can go modify it however you want. If you want it wider, skinnier, thinner, any of that. Where are my files? Let's see. Oh, I didn't save it. Oh well. All right. So that was the applique. We did that. The borders, I showed you that one. There's of course the primer stitch. So we also have our primer stitch, easy to get to. That'll create the primer for you. That's super fast and easy to do. So you've got that available. The shadow tool is always fun. So you can click on this and create a really quick drop shadow on any text you're doing. Now, I use this a lot and think it's really fun. So down here we have these auto tools, right, to draw a square. So you've seen me do that a lot. So it quickly gives you a rectangle or square shape. But now, if you hold that down, you'll see there's one with rounded rectangle. So how that works, left click, and now I drag, look what's happening. My corners are rounding for me, nice and clean. So I'm going to drag it to there, and poof, I've got a beautifully rounded, all the corners are the same, all the way around. Okay, so it's super quick and easy to be able to do. Okay. Let's see. So we did the text. What other things? Typable font, surrounded corner. Oh, I didn't show you the docking. All right, the docking is fun. All right, so these, a lot of times, particularly when I'm working on a laptop, you know, our screens are tiny on those laptops. So having all these things up kind of can get in the way. Well, right here we have this auto hide on all of these. So now they're hidden, but if I go hover over it, it pops back up. Okay, same with my symbols palette. You can hover over them, pin them so they float away. That also works with the property bar. So my object property bar, rather than closing it, I can just double click on there, and now it's this tiny little thing, so I can leave it up and just click on it to open it. So you can open and close it and leave it up without having to close it all the time. You know, physically close it so that you have to go left, right click, properties to bring it back up. You can just, oops, not that. You can just double click and make it go down to a single bar. Okay, so there's a lot of those where you can dock your items. What else? All right, so that's pretty fun. The guidelines, borders, and shadows. The PNG files. All right, so we now can save everything as PNG files. This is really kind of a game changer for creating mock-ups and other things. Also, if you're doing printable medias like sublimation or DTF or direct-to-garment printing, you know, there's this, I find it a bizarre trend, but there seems to be a trend of printing things that look like embroidery rather than doing the embroidery. Like I said, I find it strange, but you know, people are doing it. That's cool. So we can take things and do a file, save as, and go save it as a PNG, and it will save it with the border, the background all removed. And now we can bring that up in our mock-up, you know, on top of a garment, or if we're going to do it as a DTF, we can send it to our software that prints and print it out, and we'll have that. Here, where is it? That one. So if I open it, you'll see it's got on a black border, but that's just how my computer's set up. But that's transparent background, so I could put this on anything, and it'll be that transparent background. Okay. What other questions do we have? Let me go back to the ones that were sent in ahead of time. So let's see. We did that one. Turn any font into an applique. I did that. I showed how to create lettering from files, so we did that. What are some new fonts? The auto-digitizing. Yeah. Auto-digitizing is in the vector option and higher. We did the primer stitch both in 12, and then I showed you how to do it in 11 using just the editor version. Yeah, show me more of 12. Cool. I'm going to be using 12 going forward, so I've been using it for quite a while. I had to have them send me papers to remind me what's new, because I've been using it for a long time, and all the features, they're all one. I kind of forget what's in the different versions now, so. Oh, this one. Where can I find the total of the design properties, number of trims, color changes, that sort of thing? It's in your print screen. So if you come to this, okay, that's gonna make me crazy. I want it gone. There we go. And I want this docked because I like it docked. All right, so if I go File, Print, it will bring up your print dialog screen, and you'll see all of that info is right. I got to drag it onto this monitor. Is right here. So the number of trims, the number of color changes, design size, threads, all of that is shown right there for you. Okay, so that's where you would get to that. Yeah, so that's where you find the information together. Oh, how do you get the icons to be bigger in version 12? So under Tools, Options, Preferences, right here, you can change it to whatever size you want. And just try the different ones, see what you like about them. Those also, depending on how you like to digitize, you can use the arrow or crosshairs. I'll turn it on briefly just to show you, but the crosshairs are not my favorite thing, but you can use crosshairs. I like the, I got to go back to the arrow. But yeah, there's different options that you can play with to see, you know, just because I like something doesn't mean you have to like it. So, but you've got all of these different, oh, the full screen crosshair is not bad. I like that one. I'll show you that one. So that one's cool because if you're trying to line up with the bottom of this, now I can see it. And if I want to line up to the top of that, again, I can see it and get close to it. There we go. Shift Enter closes the shape like normal. So you got that. I'm going to go back to the arrow. I'm sorry. You know, anything else looks different. Yeah, that's where I'm at with my arrows. Okay. All right, we're back to the arrows. Version 11 doesn't save as PNGs. It saves as JPEGs. JPEGs keep the background. It keeps the background on it. PNG files get rid of the background file, so there's no background on it. So when you open up, let's say, a picture of a shirt, you put it in, you don't have that white or whatever color background it is hovering it. Can you show us the changes in the grid ruler? So yeah, so we've got the, Mike, if you can put whatever grid on here that you want, right? And you can drag these around. You can also use them to snap to it. You of course have the standard grid that's here, and on that you can always modify everything from colors to, yeah, sorry, I'm reading comments as they're coming in and it's distracting me from what I'm saying. I don't multitask very well, but on the actual grid that's up, you can change your colors, you can change how it's displayed, what the origin is. If you want to show the origin, its color, those sorts of things. So you can display it above the embroidery. That's not my favorite thing to do, but you can. If you want to work in points versus inches, you can always change it in your preferences, but I like inches, and you can also set your subdivisions. You can also do this, change it over to dots. So if you're a dot kind of fan, you have that option. If you don't like the grids, yeah, you only want verticals or just horizontals. So there's a lot of flexibility of stuff you can play with in here now to set it up to how do you like to work. You know, just because I like to work one way doesn't mean that's how you like to work. So, you know, what are we most comfortable with? What looks best? Now you've got a ton of flexibility on how you want it to appear for your personal preferences. So make it good for you, right? So, all right, let's see. Oh, yeah, Mike pointed out the resolution in 12 is much higher. Yes. So there was a lot of work on icons and just resolution overall, saving off files. Oh, that's fun. File, save as, JPEG. You can also change the DPI on your JPEGs. And is that there for the PNGs as well? Yeah, so on your PNGs. So if you want, so let's say you're trying to save something out as 300 DPI because you want to make it for print media, you can now do that. Copy, paste, right? So I can quickly go from copy something from here, pop into a different screen, paste it over here, and you know, it makes it super fast to be able to go between your different things. So if you're working with multiple files and you want to merge things together, you can do that really quick. Samantha, do you use version 12 between two computers? If so, are your personal settings constant on both computers? Okay, so I have DesignShop on 1, 2, 3 computers here, and then 1 computer at my house. My settings I set up on each computer, but I have them all saved off into a drive. So I actually, right here, I have what I call DS Library, and I save everything that I create on one computer here. And then when I go to the other computers, I can paste it all over the place, and all my settings on all the computers are the same. So that's how I personally do it. I just keep one folder. This happens to be on Dropbox, so it's easy for me. It's on all my computers. So all my decoratives, everything I create, my different personal libraries that I create, I use some specialized thread charts. I keep those all in what I call my library so that I can put it on all the different computers. Sherry asks, is there a technique to add rubber patches on hats? I don't know. Every time I've done that, I do it on a sewing machine. I have a post-bed sewing machine, and I just sew them on. I've never tried it on sewing them on with the embroidery machine, just because they're so quick on the post-bed machine, and I have it. So I'll have to think about that one. I'll ask around and see if we can get you a better answer than... Or I guess I could try it. I have some patches here. I'll try it and see what I can come up with for you. Oh, let's see. I'm scanning back through questions. See. All right. So are we still disengaging on one computer to move to the next? Yeah. So I didn't talk about that at all. V12 is now done through, the security is through a cloud, right? So there's a security cloud here, and you would deactivate it and activate it on another. So this computer is activated professional. If you have multiple licenses, you can this is actually what I think is kind of cool. Well, all right, let me back up. I'm scattered because I see questions coming in. So with the cloud, you have to connect once. Basically, you log in and you're done. And here we go. So you do that once every 90 days. And what's nice about it is it pushes up. You can get updates. If you deactivate and you need to reactivate it, you don't have to, hey, can you reset me? No, you just log in and you're back to being activated again. So it's a much simpler, rather than having to go through activation if something gets lost on your computer, having to call Melco to reset, those sorts of things. We don't have that anymore. Updates will come automatically, so that's also pretty handy. If you have multiple licenses, for instance, I have multiple licenses, so I can actually assign different users to it. So let's say I'm in a shop environment and you have employees digitizing for you. Cool. Employee A has one license, B has another. Well, then employee A decides they're moving, so they're no longer working for us. Okay, what do? You don't want them to have your license. You still want to be able to assign it to someone else. So that's really simple to do. You just go apply a different user to it, and now that user is using that license. So it's a really straightforward and easy thing to do on the cloud, and you only have to log in once every 90 days, basically, to touch it. Oh, that's right. So Mike just pointed, and this is, again, more benefits of the cloud. Your computer crashed, and now you bought a new computer, but you didn't have a chance to deactivate it. What do? You just go to your new computer and go to the cloud. So here, Window, Tools. So when you just log back in, Melco Cloud, and activate it, you don't have to contact Melco. You do it yourself. So it's super easy. All right. The first time you open DesignShop, you create your account, and then it's just a matter of logging in and you're done. So it's very easy and efficient to do. All right. What other questions do we have? Scott, did I show you the copy and paste that you wanted me to show? All right, I'm looking. Okay. All right, back to my questions. All right, we did that. I showed you how to change your icons. Okay. I did this one already. That was the first thing I did. And I talked about this. That was the copy and paste properties. I showed that when doing the primer stitch for this, of how to copy that pattern over. All right, so I want to curve a script font around a ribbed collar. I tried envelope and arc. It goes in the wrong direction. You're right. You have to use custom. Okay, so let's see. Over here, text. Okay, so how can we do this? Well, we can go to custom. I can put dots around here, right? But I'm going to undo that for a moment. So I'm going to leave one. I'm going to grab that one and pull it down. All right, collars don't typically look like that. So if you grab it, I can hold the control key and drag it, and it'll keep it as an arch. Now, typically what I tend to do, Scott, I'll have to look at that, think about that in a sec. Let me finish this. All right, so I can drag this down. What I typically do when curving text around a collar is I tend to lay my garment out and take a picture straight down with a ruler. That way I can open up the picture in my workspace and I just scale it around until I can measure across an inch or 3 inches, whatever size reference you have. So the picture is to scale. So then I can then take this line and arc it around and get my text to line up around the shape of what I'm working with. So yeah, you can make this look like whatever you want, right? So if you've got some really strange collar, you know, you can make it look however you want. And then if the spacing is too crowded, that's cool. You can go into the properties, and under your spacing, you can either turn on auto kern, or, and I always try auto kern first, and then from there, I'll tend to just move things around to suit my needs. So, you know, you can move them around here. You can manually kern in the properties. So I haven't shown this in a while, but just to be silly, I'm going to do a whole bunch. So you see, I just put a bunch of spaces in there. That was clearly not what we want to do, but just to give you an idea, these buttons here are manual kerning, right? So after the O, I need some space. So I can put 1 or 2 of those, scooch it over. We want more than that. So it's, you know, just how different ways to handle kerning. Okay. Let's see. What other questions do we have? Yeah, Mike, I do that all the time with garments. I take a picture of it, and I always put a scale, and it's either a ruler or something I know the size of. So, you know, if I don't have a ruler and I know the size, oh, I'll grab a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11. I know what that is. So, I mean, you can use whatever you know, something that's the size of it, and put it in there as a reference. And that way you just scale it until it's down. The only key to when you're working with that is to make sure you try to take the picture straight down, because it's when it's at an angle. Cameras by default, even straight down, are going to distort it, but it minimizes your distortions. Okay, what other questions do we have? Oh, I didn't talk about that. So I did that. Yeah, the rounded corners, man, and the text, all the stuff you can do with text is pretty wild. I love it. Can you make the letters vertical on the curve? I don't know. Let's see. Not even sure I understand. So, letters. What do you mean vertical? Straight up and down? Well, I could. So, here. I can go do it this way. This is not really efficient, but I'll show it to you. So, I can rotate these up. Say, not the most efficient use, but yes, I can certainly do that. Gets the job done. I assume this is what you meant, straight up and down. Yeah. So I can do that. So what I'm doing, so if you're not following it, so you'll notice when you click on text, it draws a box around it. Then there's these black X's. When you click on those, it lets you modify each letter individually. So just like when I was creating typable text and I had to modify my G to get the descender up, so I did that by holding the control key to move it up and down above the baseline. But if I want it to stay on the line, when I drag it, it'll hold it to that line. Okay. The open handles are rotation, so that lets me rotate it. If I click on this thing again, that's scaling, so I can scale it. Not that I want to do that, but you can. Right? So, I mean, you can do a lot of things with the software. Okay. What other questions do we have? Oh, okay. I'll say going to the cloud server was, super easy. All I did was, it was kind of brainless. I went, opened the software, logged in, done. I mean, it was pretty much that simple. I had to go take my license number, put it on the server, on the cloud when you log in. When you create your account, apply your license, and now you're done. Activate, and you're using it. So I find it with managing multiple licenses like I have, it's incredibly handy for me to be able to say, okay, this is on that computer, this is on that computer. And if I need to deactivate it, no problem, just log in on another computer. So it's really easy to do. Okay. Do I have any other questions? I'll hang on for a second. We did that, that. Those are some of the new fonts. Like I said, chain stitch. I didn't show the chain stitch. The chain stitch is cool. See, I get excited over things. All right, so if I'm going to do a line, there are chain stitch fonts, which are way cool, but you can also do, all right, let's do the fonts first, because everyone knows I like decoratives. Chain. All right, so you got chain script small, and then regular. These are just different sizes. So notice here, this one's suggested height is 1 to 3 inches. This one's suggested height is a little over 1/2 inch to 1.5 inch. All right, so yeah, so many features, so little time. Yeah, but these chain stitch fonts, they so pretty. And then you can also use the decorative, and I've been using this quite a lot recently for, when you do line work, red work or something like that, you can do a bean stitch, but I wanted something to be bolder. I didn't want it super wide like a satin, but I just wanted it more. So I've been using these chain stitches for drawing things, to make it look almost hand done, but just bolder than a bean stitch, not quite as heavy as a satin stitch. And boy, it's been great. So I've done a lot of stuff with these chain stitches, and you've got a thick and a small one and a thick one, and it's just the size of the chain, but they sew out so cute. All right, any other questions? So there's the chain stitches. I love them. All right. So anyway, there's a lot of new stuff. I have only scratched on the surface of it. I think that creating typable fonts is probably one of the coolest, because you can buy whatever font you prefer and use it. Whether, if you can't find it as an OTF or TTF, or the OTF you find isn't exactly what you want, that's all right. Find an embroidery font if you bought it. Just use that. It goes really nicely. Like I said, the scarlet ones are the ones I've been SCAR. Yeah. So once you so notice this, it shows, that's the one I created today. It shows up currently as a star. When you close it and reopen it, it's going to show up with this thing, this icon, the A with an X. That's to indicate visually that that's a expanded font. All right, so it's going to change over to that. And then these are also down under custom. Okay, so that's where they're going to pop up. So if you're looking through these drop downs, they pop up here. Okay, yeah, that one's a 3 inch, that one's a 2 inch. I realized after I did the large, I should put the sizes. Okay, Mike pointed out the chain stitch is really cool with the firefighter thread. Looks pretty retro, which, yeah, I could see that. That'd be so pretty. Anyway, everyone knows I love decoratives. I think I talk about them every DS talk, because it's just so versatile. Anyway, all right, any other questions? All right, Trying to think what else. I got scribbles all over the place. All right, y'all. Oh, I'm not sure. Yeah. So if you are interested in a one-time trial, you can reach out to your account manager for DS12, and or call Melco if you don't have an account manager, and they can see about hooking you up with a trial. So, all right, everyone, have a fantastic weekend. Yeah, there's a ton of new stuff. I've been using it for so long, it's kind of I tend to, when I go back to 11, because on these DS talks, I've been using 11 when I've had 12 for a while. So I'm always jarred when I'm like, oh, wait, that's not in this one. That's not in this one. So anyway, I'll be doing the talks in 12 for going forward. So everything you can do in 11 is in 12. So you have questions in 11, me demoing in 12 doesn't change anything. When there's things that aren't there, I can go back and open up 11 just to show specifically that. But yeah, you guys have a fantastic weekend. I hope this was helpful and a little bit informative. It's a lot of new stuff to play with. It's a lot of fun. I'll go try it out, have fun with it. Make lots of cool things and show them to me. That'd be cool. All right, guys, have a great weekend. I will talk to you next week. We'll show you more stuff then. Bye.